Meeting of the Finance Standing Committee is called to order at 10:35 a.m. on July 2nd, 2025. We'll start with the roll call. Alderwoman Finlayson, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can hear you. Yep. I'll take that as a present. Alderwoman O'Neill?
Present.
And Alderman Huntley, present. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Move approval of the agenda as written.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay. I didn't mean to say nay. Agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the June 10th, 2025 special meeting?
Motion to approve minutes from 6/10/2025 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And thank you, folks, for holding down the house on that when I was not there. All right, we've just got two pieces of legislation to consider today. First is the prioritizing affordable spending through expansion of Financial Advisory Commission duties. We did cover this before. I think we had put a pin in it partially so that Alderman Arnett could join us and talk a little bit more about it. But I know he's not with us today. So I thought maybe one of the things we could do is review the response from the Financial Advisory Commission about it. The fact said that they here I came right to the sentence I think is at the heart of the matter. They say they support the ordinance with several major reservations and concerns. So most of it is around the timing, and I think they have a bunch of good concerns around basically how does the timing of this work? Is there a way to do it that allows for the fact to say, look, we need money for this, to put it in simple terms, and then we need something to recognize that this isn't actually going to be applicable for the FY27 budget, assuming it takes effect on July 1. Well, it's which would have been yesterday. So obviously it will take effect later. But either way, the point stands that it is going to take effect really too late to be relevant to the FY27 budget. So we just need to clarify in there to some extent that it's not relevant to the 27 budget. It would really start with the 28 budget. I still also have reservations about this being a duplication of the finance director's duties. It seems like we're going to do another study that we should rely on our existing staff to do. That's my opinion. That's not what the fact said. But I think at this point, my thought is this: we shouldn't pass it without amendments. And we maybe shouldn't pass it with amendments, but definitely as it stands, there's just some things that don't make sense in there around the timing. So I was hoping we would have Alderman Arnett to kind of give the pro case for it, but I don't see him. So I just open the floor for discussion from either of my colleagues, and then maybe we go to some of our staff. Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance Advisory Commission was created to give us some additional expertise on our budgets. And we have learned over the years that it's a big lift for them because they are volunteers and they don't work the same circles, the same cycle. I'm sorry, not circles, but the same cycle that we work. They meet monthly.
Right.
And so this puts a big additional responsibility on them. And they are absolutely right to say that if you ask us to do this, then give us the resources to do it. Give us the staff, give us the funding. I don't think that that's what Alderman Arnett had in mind, but I do know that he believes they should have a greater role in weighing in as far as spending affordability is concerned. I believe they can still have that input without us legislating it. I think it's a matter of the Finance Committee asking them in a timely fashion, which would be in the fall.
Yeah.
as well as the finance director being open to hearing them, hearing their concerns and being able to consider them. So, while I think the intent is an admirable one, I think it would create more of a burden, and that's not a good word, but more of a bigger responsibility for the commission as well as for staff to keep up. I know the finance director goes to all of their meetings. And during the budget process, that's a heavy lift for her in addition to what she's already doing. So anyway, I think there needs to be some other things in place to make that work more smoothly. So I would vote no on this legislation.
Alderwoman O'Neill, anything you want to jump in and talk about?
Sure. Thank you. I tend to agree with you, Alderwoman Finlayson. When I read through the legislation, I felt like in some cases, while we do appreciate oversight and additional eyes taking a look at it, it seemed to be that in some ways it would cause more of a bottleneck in our budget process, especially as we are looking to make changes in the process and how it's currently done. If we're waiting for reports before we're able to move forward, it seems to me that that's counterproductive to, positive changes we're looking to make in the budget process moving forward. So I would tend to vote no on this legislation and agree the fact that there's definitely changes that can be made, but do we need to legislate those changes?
Ms. Finance Director, you got anything you want to add?
I would love to. So I also share the same sort of comments. I appreciate the acknowledgement that it would be a large burden on our department as well. As you all know, when you hire a consultant, their report is only as good as the data they put into it. Well, that's going to come from the finance department. So we just simply don't have the manpower to, if it's a requirement, then we are the ones that are going to be required to provide this information. And the scope of that, we're really unsure right now. They don't have a lined up consultant, so we don't know the level of detail that would come out of that. I also believe it's premature in the fact that we don't know if there is a consultant that is willing to look at the city of Annapolis particularly.
Right.
In general, there are one, the county uses one, but that's at the county level, which is very different from the city level. So
and I believe,
don't,
if I can just jump in, I
Yep.
believe the fact said that they reached out to the county one and they explicitly were not willing to do it for the city.
That's correct. That's Resi. And so there is no harm in looking at the counties. We are in the county, but I don't think it's a one size fits all. And without knowing that there's actually a consultant that would be willing to take on something that would be added value for the city level, I don't feel it's appropriate to tie us down to these specific requirements. I also feel that the requirements that are in here are very restrictive. It doesn't give any flexibility of what the report might come out of the report, what may or may not be utilized or should be utilized based on the results of the report. I don't feel that it's a bad idea to have a third party look at our economic outlook. It could be beneficial for my position in that I could use that as a guidance to projections, but I don't think it is or shall be a replacement for the projections that we present. Always open to having other consultants and other viewpoints of the economy that maybe would be able to pull data from our planning and zoning department and all of that, as well as more of a collaborative throughout the entire city and the departments. They may require information from all of our departments that could be useful, permits, such forth. So I think that it could maybe be taken in a different way of maybe the council decides every so many years we have a consultant that we try to hire that can look for the next projections for the next 5 years. That could just help us. And then maybe the FAC has the ability to use that report to make suggestions to the mayor and to council as more of a vague guidance. So, and there is always an open platform. I do go to all of their meetings, and I don't think there's ever been a time where someone said you can't suggest anything about the economy to us before we go, start our budget. So those are my overall thoughts. And then I have also technical thoughts if it gets down to that on the ordinance itself.
When you say technical thoughts, you have
Oh, just
amendments?
like replacing words, or it vaguely says administration, but what does that mean? Does that mean the mayor? Like who does that mean? Or instances where it's requiring that the end of ordinance, it says that we are required to address whether any spending affordability requirements were considered, but the legislation requires that they be considered. So it's kind of like, there's a little bit of a discrepancy in the way it's written. And then there's just certain places where I think there should be capital letters, changes from expenditures to expenses, etc.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty clear which way we're leaning in terms of the overall legislation. I do want to vote on the two specific amendments that were suggested by the FAC, because I think they do straightforwardly strengthen it, even if overall we're not supportive. And then I'd say, Ms. Moran, if you want to work with the mayor's office, and obviously you can kind of figure out to what extent you think it's worth your time to do that. But I think on the amendments you're talking about, unless we have them right now in front of us today, probably best for the finance committee to not take a position on those today. But these ones that are from the FAC, I can read out, and they're pretty straightforward. So,
Mr.
I'd
Chair,
like-
point of
Yeah, yeah.
information. I'm looking at the agenda and there are no amendments attached. So what amendments, is there a sponsor for the amendments, or are you sponsoring the fax amendments? What's the process?
Sure, that's a good question. I'm looking at the fax letter. It's from June 17th. And in the last two paragraphs of that, they make two specific amendment recommendations. So process-wise, probably we should have gone to Ms. Reuter beforehand and had them put on the agenda. But I can read those out to you if that's acceptable. They're both about a sentence.
That would be fine, but this suggests that you're sponsoring those amendments. I mean,
Sure.
an alderman has to sponsor the amendments to get them on the, to be part of the discussion, so
Sure,
please.
I'm happy to sponsor them. So, okay, I'll read these. One is add a new subsection to 2.48.110 that reads as follows. Quote, notwithstanding anything else in this article, the first report from the FAC under this section shall not be due until October 1, 2026. So this makes it clear that we're not talking about doing this for the FY26 budget process. It wouldn't happen until the FY27. So that would be Huntley Amendment 1. Huntley Amendment 2, which again is suggested by the FAC, says add to section 2.48.110 B2C that reads, the FAC's responsibility to furnish the reports required by this article is contingent upon the mayor and council. Let's probably just say council, actually. It's contingent upon the council timely appropriating sufficient funds annually to hire consultants reasonably necessary to assist the FAC with the assistance of the finance department in carrying out these responsibilities. And I can work with Ms. Jackson to make sure she's got that language. So I brought forward that amendment. Let's take Amendment 1 first, which again was the notwithstanding anything else, first report shall not be due until October 1, 2026. Is there a second to that amendment? Okay, if not, we don't have to vote on it. That's fine.
As a point of information, are you
Yeah,
going to
go ahead.
close the vote on that? I feel that if we are not going to make a favorable recommendation to forward this, then is it somewhat pointless to be talking about it?
I kind of think, our recommendation is not the end all be all. The full council could still vote favorably on it. And so I would prefer that if that's the case, right, if even if the three of us don't support it, if it gets 6 other votes when it's in front of the full council, I'd rather it be the strongest legislation it can be.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a problem with the First Amendment.
Mhm.
I will not support the second, but I will not support the legislation as amended. So
Okay.
and I agree with Alderwoman O'Neill. I'm not sure why we're having this discussion if we don't feel that we can support, and maybe you think the amendments are going to change our concerns about the legislation.
No, I don't think the amendments change my concerns. I just think on the chance that it does get passed by the full council, we should fix these things now. But I mean, we don't have to. We could leave it, and if there's a chance it's going to get passed at the full council, then someone else can bring forward these amendments. So, look, if it doesn't have a second, that's fine. We can move on. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to make a unfavorable recommendation on O-1225.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that motion. Thank you.
There we
Alderwoman.
go. All those in favor of a unfavorable recommendation on O-1225, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Nobody? Okay, moving on to O-1325. This is the ordinance that adjusts compensation for the mayor, alderman, and alderwoman. This is brought forward by the mayor. I think I've made my thoughts on this very clear. So I don't have anything more to say, but I'd just open the floor to debate if anybody else does.
Mr. Chair, I will. These recommendations actually come from the commission, whose responsibility it is to make these recommendations. So they don't come from the mayor, really. They come from
Sure.
Compensation Commission.
Sure.
And for many years, we've had discussions about aldermen not being valued and not having an opportunity to reach further into the community because of the pace that is offered. So I would totally support this ordinance. Period. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Finlayson. Alderwoman O'Neill, you got anything you want to add?
I do not.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation to O-1325.
Second.
All those in favor of making a favorable recommendation on O-1325, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Nay. All right. Motion carries. The Finance Committee has made a favorable recommendation on O-1325. All right. Last thing we got on the agenda is an update from our wonderful finance department. How's it going?
I got so excited. It was going so fast. I forgot I had to update you. We're trucking along. We, obviously the budget's done, so we're doing the wrap up of that. The budget team is busy finishing the, final budget book to post online. The budget should be available online as passed, but they're working on the budget, the whole book. Other than that, we've kicked off our audit. Well, kicked off our audit. We had the end of the fiscal year. We did a soft close on Monday, and so we were busy. We're very busy. We are aiming to have the budget done. The audit done by the end of the fiscal year, which is very ambitious, but I have full faith that we'll be able to get that done. Utilize our consultant, why we have Jody, to help with strictly that. So we're just busy, but we're trucking along. And also we have should update you on the positions. We still have open a deputy position. We have a new AP payroll position that was approved in the budget that's open. We have a contractual position that's open. So we have some vacancies that we need to figure out, but we're busy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I had sent an email earlier, and it's really about the process. A constituent had reached out trying to change a direct billing. And can you speak to that? What is the process?
I can, and I have not responded yet because I'm trying to figure out exactly what happened in this particular situation. But I had noted the concerns with the process when I came on board. I also share those concerns of this seems a little bit odd that this is how we're processing direct deposit and just in general. So just as an overall, we are making changes to that. It's going to involve IT as well. And we've worked with Wells Fargo and kind of a way to implement into our system a better way to allow our citizens to to import their own direct deposit information and kind of be the owners of their own account. So we don't have this back and forth, and someone doesn't need to come down to City Hall just to change their direct deposit, or if they have a different credit card, if their credit card expires, or they'll be able to handle that all on their own. Obviously, they can still come down if they need to, but it seems a little bit archaic, and it's creating a lot more work than we should be doing anyway. I will address to you individually that particular person, but I acknowledge that it's an issue and we are trying to fix it, but are going to work with anyone that's having issues in that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to shed light so that everybody's not sitting there wondering.
Oh
what
yeah,
we're talking about,
sorry,
will say
sorry,
that
I should have.
I was
given
doing
back.
that. Yeah.
I had a constituent reach out to say that they were trying to change their direct billing from one bank to another because they were switching banks. They started the process in April of this year, and to date, it's still not rectified. And they were told that it takes some amount of billing cycles, which to me sounded really crazy, that you couldn't just switch your bank and switch your billing within 1 month's time frame. So Director Moran has been graciously helping figure that process out. And sometimes it takes just one constituent's issue to bring to light that it actually is an issue, and that we're directly addressing those so that it will be easier in the future for others who wish to change banks or stop direct billing and start sending in a check or start direct billing. Much easier than waiting 2 or 3 budget cycle or billing cycles in order for that to take place.
Yes, and that's the part I'm still waiting to clarify. Even though the process is not ideal right now, and we are fixing it or trying to fix it, it still should not have taken multiple. So I think that's particular in this case, but I want to believe it's not happening to everyone. So I'll follow up on the specific case, but either way, the process is archaic and is not quick, and it's burdensome for staff and for the residents. So
Right.
we are working on it.
Director Moran, I had a question for you, not related to that. So, obviously, yesterday, first day of the new fiscal year, just kind of wondering how that's going within your office. And it came to my mind because I had a issue last week, and I got in touch with somebody in Parks and Rec, and he said, we're right at the end of the fiscal year. Don't have anybody to fix that. Give me a week or two. And so I imagine you have some other situations like that where people they are doing the right thing and staying within their budget and for the fiscal year, and then once the new one starts, you have a bunch more activity. So just any update you can give us on what it's been like in your department to start the new fiscal year yesterday?
It's pure chaos. Just to be totally candid, it's between the budget wrapping up and we have to do a soft close, and then everyone's trying to get their,
You're a saint.
like everyone wants to move money around if they have money here, or we have to project, okay, we haven't gotten bills for BG&E yet, but you can't take money from heat because we don't know what it's good. It's pure chaos.
Okay.
But we try to iron it out as much as we can, work with the departments. Obviously there's certain things that are not avoidable. Whether you have, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. We have to get all the rates updated, for billing, for everything. health rates. So it's fun.
Thank you. Well, maybe we'll ask you the same question in 2 weeks, and it'll be slightly less chaotic. That's the hope.
Yes. I didn't say I didn't enjoy it. I just said
I
crazy.
get that.
It is crazy.
We're all on the city council. We know that feeling.
Right?
Yeah. So Alderwoman Finlayson, you had a question?
Yes, and thank you. And for some reason, my raise your hand button doesn't appear. So that's why I'm probably just calling out. My question for Ms. Moran has to do with the new positions that we added to the budget. I guess it's more of a process question. Does it now behoove the directors to put the steps in place to begin to hire those new staff persons? And well, that's my first question, I guess. What role do you have, or is it just totally left up to the department heads to begin their process of hiring their new people?
It is up to the department heads to initiate. However, as part of our wrap up of the budget, we present to HR the approved new positions as budgeted. And then that kind of gives them the okay of this is what was in there. We have to work with HR of what titles were included in the budget and whether they have been part of the positions that were already listed. So it's a teamwork, but it's up to the departments to initiate that hiring. We are working on that position control list right now, and we have a few meetings with HR next week and a couple department heads just to go over their staffing summaries as were previously budgeted, plus any new positions to make sure we have all that in order. So if there are department heads that are looking to kick that off, they should start talking to HR and finance, and we can all work together to get it done.
Okay, so I just want to make sure the autonomy falls with the department head to initiate. And we kind of assume that they've been following everything that we've been doing during the budget process. But there were changes of titles and that kind of thing also.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have an understanding of the process. So thank you.
And I was just going to say, I think maybe the acting city manager is even better equipped to answer
Yes,
this.
Acting City Manager Jackie Guild. So to supplement Ms. Moran's response, now that we have the career ladders as well that were approved as part of the compensation classification study, I checked in with HR on that matter because there are some employees that would like to apply for, like, for example, in stormwater engineers, now we have stormwater engineer 1, 2, 3, that's true in many departments. There's a career ladder now. So HR is working with a consultant to develop the criteria and what would be required for each one of those career ladder steps. So that's something that's not available right now, but should be in the very near future. And we will get an update from HR at the directors meeting on next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's exciting. And I know we're getting finally hired some of the ones from the last budget even. So I believe our short-term rental coordinator is starting this week. Very
Supposed to start
excited.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yes, so the departments, I had to do one myself for a position I advertised and
Right.
received 189 applications for within a month.
Wow, that's
So
good.
that was the environmental programs manager position, the second one. Again, that one's on a career ladder as well. So it's up to the department directors to contact HR with new positions that came through the class that were approved through the classification compensation study that we maybe had approved in FY25, but we could not advertise yet because they were new positions. So I had to work with HR on that job description, get it approved, get it out there. So that's the case with existing positions that we can already advertise, get them advertised, and then new positions. And then what's to come are the career ladder descriptions so that staff can apply for those positions.
Sounds good. Thank you. That's exciting. Anybody got anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
thank
Motion carries.
you much. Happy 4th.